Yo, what's good? So, I'm a talk about this thing in my life that's going on right now. Cause while I'm playing skate, so if I'm like stuttering a shit ton, then you know it's because I'm playing this and I'm like trying to focus on this. This is a really annoying challenge. Anyway, I'm talking about my life, and I think some things you guys might relate to. So I'm gonna just tell you all of that. I'm just gonna be straight. There's this dude, okay? His name's Will. I don't care about name dropping. I don't know if people are gonna see this, but his name's Will, and he means a shit ton to me. Do you know what I mean? Like he's meant so much for a while, and he's kind of been there for me. He was there for me when my family weren't. He kind of filled like a family-sized hole in my heart. So then, but he's older than me. He's 17. I'm 14. He's 17, and I'm gay. He's not. He's kind of like, we were kind of good at what the other person wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like my faults were his. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like we completed each other. We were like a ionic bonds, not ionic, covalent bonds. Sciencey shit. And so we were like, we got used to that and shit, and we were like that. Anyways, I'm just gonna tell you the story from the beginning, okay? So we were chill. I didn't know him, but I know him from church. That's where I know him from. And originally I was friends with his brother. Me and his brother were chill like that. You know what I mean? Like we weren't amazing friends, but then it was kind of chill. And then we got closer and closer, and I just came out to him. I was like, "Yo, I'm gay, by the way," and he was like, "Oh, that's chill." But then he ended up thinking I had a crush on him for some reason. Like I kind of did. I kind of thought he was fit, but he was never like my favorite person ever. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't actually think I would have dated him. It was chill like that. But he figured that out, and so one day everyone came around to my house. Our friend group, our church friend group, they all came around to my house, and we would just chill like that. Do you know what I mean? So like we all hung out, and it ended up, I don't know why and who decided this, but we decided we were gonna have like one-on-one conversations. So like 7 minutes, and we just talked to each other one-on-one. Nobody else around, so nobody could hear. And in this time, that's when he was like, "Yo, I think you have a crush on me and shit." And I don't swing that way. Like, so you can, but like I'm not gonna deal with that. And I was like, "Nah, I don't. It's chill." But he was like obsessed with this idea, and that says more about him than me. But like, it did. And then we ended up having a massive ass argument about it, and to the point where Will, his brother, he got involved, and he was like, "Yo," so I saw like Sam told me about what happened between you, and I just want you to know, like you're chill as shit, like, and it's not actually that big of a deal. Do you know what I mean? I think he's never met a gay person before, so like, he's just trying to figure out what that shit's like. Do you know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, that's chill. And then from that point on, it was like a spark. It was like that. We had a spark. Not in that way. Like the bomb was planted. And so the seed was planted. So then we started talking from that point, and it was like just normal. It wasn't normal, but like at church, okay. And then me and Sam made up again. Do you know what I mean? It was all chill. But then me and Will, me and Sam, we started talking more, and he was like, "Yo, I think you should start playing Valorant with me and shit." And I was like, "Valorant? You know what, sure. I don't really care." Like, I didn't have any friends at that point, so I was just talking, I was like, "You know what, sure." I started playing Valorant, and it turns out Will played Valorant with him. So then we started playing Valorant together, all us three, and we were like a trio. We were tight like that. It was kind of like I was their long lost brother. Do you know what I mean? And it was so chill. Then over time, me and Will, we figured out we were really good friends. So then I became part of his friends. Like, I became one of his good friends, and we started playing Valorant together. Then we'd like stay on a bit longer than Sam. So once Sam got off, we'd just play Valorant together and shit. And it slowly got more and more to the point where we'd maybe play like for an hour after Sam got off, just so we could talk and hang out and shit. And it turns out nobody knew about this. Like, I was telling people that shit, and I was like, "Yo, like, me and Will are like flat like that now." Do you know what I mean? But he wasn't telling anyone. I didn't know that at that point, but he wasn't. And we were flat like that, and it was really chill, and I loved him. But over time, we started talking even more, and then it wasn't just about Valorant in church. It was like we were messaging, and I was like, "Yo," like, we were just chill. Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't anything crazy. But like, it got to the point where like we knew each other pretty well. Like, we were pretty good friends and shit. And then one day, I was like talking to him and shit, and I was like, yo, can you send me, like, I want to learn this song on guitar, can you, like, teach me? And instead of sending me, like, a 5-minute video on just the chords and shit, he sent me a 20-minute video on, like, how to play it, and, like, with the faults and flaws and shit, and, like, an easier version as well. And then he was like, sorry, that was rushed. 20 minutes, that is not rushed. And then he got back from church, and he was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I made some mistakes, and sent me another 10-minute video on, like, things that he made wrong. And, you know, it was just an entire thing. And then he started sending me guitar videos, just, you know, like that. And we were taught like that with guitar as well. And then one day, I was chilling with my friend Anna, and I was like, yo, you know that Will dude, he plays volleyball? And she was like, no way. And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, one day she was like, yo, I kind of want to meet this Will dude. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh yeah, did I ever tell you I play volleyball as well? I was like, nah, you didn't. And then she was like, you know what? Maybe we should try get him to, like, come here so we can play volleyball together and shit. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure. So I messaged him. I was like, yo, you want to come play volleyball with me and this girl Anna? She said she wants to meet you. And I was like, he was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, I was like, okay, so you want to get pizza beforehand though, just so we can hang out? He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. So then he came early as well, which was crazy, but he came early and was like, okay, so, like, let's get pizza and shit. And we just hung out, and it was all chill. And bearing in mind, at this point, we'd known each other for, like, we'd been talking for 4 months, maybe, like, not in just in a friend's way and shit. And it was so chill. What the freak is that? Anyway, and we were just chilling and shit. But then what? I don't know why there's a timer. And then we got pizza and stuff. He met some of my other friends from skate park, and it was all chill. And so I don't know what that is. Anyway, so we were there hanging out and stuff.
I like it.
Okay, dumb. I don't really care. Anyway, so then we'd stayed friends and stuff. You know what I mean? What am I saying? I'm sorry. I'm just focused on this. Anyway, so we were, like, chilling that, and we'd play. So he came, and he met some of my friends. We got pizza and stuff. And then Anna messaged me and was like, yo, I'm at the skate park, come down and, like, let me meet Will and shit. And so I was like, okay, bet. So we were walking down from where we were before. We were sitting at the top of the park, and we had to, like, walk down the hill just to get to her. We were like a minute away from her, do you know what I mean? Like, well, not even that, we were like 30 meters away from her and shit. And then he comes to me and he's like, we just been walking there, you know, not like talking about, it was like a normal silence, you know what I mean, not awkward and shit, just like a normal, just, you know, like, as you do when you're walking and stuff. And then it was like, and then he looked at me and was like, yo, Judah, and I was like, oh yeah, what? And he goes, you know, you're like one of my favorite people. And I was like, oh really, thanks, like, that's really nice. And he goes, yeah, you're like better than a lot of my friends, you're like the complete opposite of dry and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty nice, yeah. And he was like, yeah. And he was like, but Judah, you kind of make me think and feel things that nobody's ever made me think and feel before. And I was like, yo,
select a player to join
like,
party.
That's nice. That's, like, a really nice thing to say. Like, that means a lot. And he was like, yeah, but, like, I just want you to know that, like, sometimes it feels like, sometimes I feel like I can't, and I don't want to, and just can't feel them towards you. And I was like, what? And because that was a bit of a weird thing to say. But then, yeah. And then we met Anna, and I didn't actually get a chance to ask him about it, because she saw us as he was saying that. She was running over to us, so I didn't get a chance to ask him, and I never have. Basically, now it went on, and as time went on, he started to get a bit more, like, with me. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't that. It was like he still loved me, and he was still really good friends, but around people, he just ignored me and stuff. And it was really, you know, it hurt me, but it was what it was. And then as time went on, he just completely stopped talking. He ghosted me on Snap and shit, and I was not having any of that. So I was like, yo, you're being a bit of a bitch. Like, you gotta you know, all of this. And I sent him a voice note. I sent him a 10-minute voice note, and I was like, you know what, you're actually being a bitch now. You know, like, normal people who don't, like, do this to people, they were like their best friends. It was like, about it, do you know what I mean? Well, he didn't actually reply to it, because I blocked him afterwards. But from that point, we haven't started speaking, and that was in August. And bearing in mind, now it's like the middle of December, and we still haven't talked properly. And I've said sorry so many times. Like, it really hurt me to say that to somebody that helped me get through hard times. He didn't know that at that time. I just needed him there. The best part was I didn't feel like I needed to talk to him about it, because he just made me forget about it temporarily, and it was all chill.
Do happen to good people.
Anyway, so now we haven't talked. And in this time, I have been like reflecting on what that was, what our relationship was, and what I could have done to change it. And maybe if ever, hopefully, fingers crossed, in the future, we become friends again. You know, we can what we can do differently. And what I realized, this is the part that I want you guys to know about. Okay. He compartmentalizes. So what I mean by that is he has his main boxes. Okay, he has main boxes of thought. He has school, friends, family, church, like fun stuff. Okay, and in those boxes he has mini boxes of like things like, if for example, if it's in like the fun box, then it might be his hobbies like volleyball, Valorant, guitar, you know, all of that. And in those boxes, so like in like in the Valorant box, he'd have like the people he played it with, and then matches and the ranks. But then with those people inside of those, he'd have the individual stories and like things and feelings they had around them. And in those boxes, he'd have like feelings around the stories. And, do you know what I mean? Like, it just went from smaller to smaller, and he had everything completely organized and shit. But then with me, I started in his church box. Do you know what I mean? I gotta say it's fast because my phone's storage is bad right now. I stayed in his like church box. And then after his brother, I became his church friends box. And then from that, we started playing Valorant. I became part of his fun box and in the Valorant box. Just in the Valorant part of the fun box. But then from that, we started doing guitar, so we became part of the guitar box. And then the Valorant box. And then, you know what I mean? Like, not the Valorant, the volleyball box. And then became part of his, you know, all of that. So eventually I became part of his church, his friends, and his fun, and maybe, you know, parts of his family as well because of Sam and stuff. So I became a big part of his life. But then with what he said, it made me realize that I kind of became like my own box myself. Not like he kind of put me in like a small box, but because I was a part of so many parts of his life, I kind of had like a pretty small big box, if that makes sense. But what ended up happening was he like shoved a bunch of like big feelings and emotions in a small box, so it got pretty crammed. And because and all of this, so what ended up happening was now he has my box, but instead of like in those boxes, he has smaller boxes. He just has a box with mixes of like past regrets, past like experiences, like feelings and all of that. Some of them are super amazing, some of them are super horrid, but it's all really packed in there and it's really full. And here's the other thing. So this is what everyone has, not the compartmentalizing. Everyone has like emotional currency. They get a certain allowance, like a week or a day or something, and they have to make that go through all their things. But like when introverts go out, they spend a lot of money on like the party, do you know what I mean? And they don't have time to spend on anything else. So when they run out, they're done, do you know what I mean? You run out of money, you'll run out of money until like you get your next like paycheck or whatever. And that's kind of what happens with people. And I have a pretty big box, so I've always been able to, you know, like deal with school and Will and the rest of the shit. But he has less. And he was able to put it, and as I became more of a part of his life, he like incorporated that and shit, do you know what I mean? But then as I became more and more, that box became fuller and fuller and more messy. He kind of had to pull away from me. He kind of had to stop spending as much money on me, because when he talked to me, he didn't know what feelings and stuff would come out of that box, and he'd have to shove back in. So he'd stop spending as much money on me, and he'd stop experiencing as much of me, so he had to have time to spend on the rest of his stuff. But then now that I've not talked to him, okay, for a while, I didn't talk to him, I didn't see him, I didn't message him, I didn't, like, nothing, I had no contact with him, I wasn't even going to church because I didn't want to interrupt him. And in that time, he forgot about me, he forgot how to incorporate, like, me into his, like, savings. And the thing is, now that I'm trying to talk to him again now, I'm just trying to be friends with him. I don't care about anything else. I just want to be able to, like, sit in church without it being awkward and stuff, you know what I mean? But he's kind of stopping that, because, and the thing is, what I realized was, he might want to do that. He might want to do that so bad, okay? But he knows that the second he opens that box up again, he won't know what's going to come out. And that box now, instead of being like maybe like £1.50 it was before, out of his 10 that he'd have to spend, that box, he doesn't know if it's going to range from 20p to like £15, like money he just doesn't have to spend on everything else, do you know what I mean, on like spare things. And I think that's what some people need to realise, okay, this is where I'm going to. Some people need to remember that they might not be replying to your messages at the moment, not because they don't care, they might care so much, but they don't know how much money they're going to have to spend on how much emotional currency they have at the moment to spend on you. They might at the moment have a lot on with school. For example, he's doing his A-levels, he's about to go to uni, and he has to spend so much money on that, on top of family and friends and volleyball and stuff, because it's volleyball season. He has all of that, and he doesn't have anything at all spare to spend on me. And it's taken me those 4 months to realise that. And I think that's something like people need to remember sometimes, because I didn't know that, like nobody had ever said that to me. But that's just a really important thing, and I needed to realise that. I wish somebody had that to tell me, but I think that's what you guys need to remember. People suck as well. I'm just like, that's just the truth. People suck so much. They're gonna make you want to, like, sometimes they just want to rip your face off, especially people you love and people that treated you. What? I don't care. Should a canker anyway.
Spread the word on the Sandance
and so,
with his self-published theme.
Bro, what the freak?
Joe always prided himself on being just a small town boy.
Yeah, I just want to say that. And people, people are gonna, that's gonna happen to you someday. Someday you're gonna meet somebody that really means a lot to you. Maybe you already have. Maybe you're at the moment trying to get over somebody that just, get on. What does a VO? I don't know what that is. I'm just changing that down. Oh wait, I can just disable that. Okay, that's fine. Anyway, so that person, maybe you just need forgiveness at the moment. Maybe you're waiting for that person to come to you and say, hey, what we had in the past was amazing, but I forgive you for what you've done and all of that. Maybe it's like, I'm sorry for what I did. Maybe they just have something to say to you and you're waiting for them to say that. But at the moment, they don't have that emotional currency to spend on that. And I feel like you guys need to remember that. And, okay, this is going to sound super stupid, but, like, I'm a Christian. Even though I have so much bad stuff in my life, I'm still a Christian. I'm just going to say this, guys. If it ever feels like that, just maybe be like, maybe open up a random Bible and just read. I don't know. Yeah. But just also, I just want you guys to remember that about the emotional currency and about the boxes. Because the person you might be thinking about might have those boxes, and you might have had such massive impacts on their life that you have your own box, and in that box is just a mess, and they don't know how to deal with that. Maybe it is super, like, organized and stuff, but they're worried that they might get lost in your box and end up opening the wrong one to find an emotion or feel an emotion that they're not ready to feel again, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Anyway, you guys are amazing. I hope someday that person forgives you. I hope you're able to accept that forgiveness, accept that sorry, forgive them. I hope that someday maybe even you just have the emotional currency. You save up enough energy to spend on that person that you need to say something to. Anyway, I pray for you guys. Lord, I pray that the person watching this video has an amazing day, and that they are amazing. They know they're amazing, they know that they're loved, and that you can help them through anything hard that's going on at the moment. Amen. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good day. If you have any questions or comments, I'm going to just put them in the comment section. And I'll probably be like, I'll probably reply to them or some shit. Yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope this helped you figure something out. Bye.